The presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Dumebi Kachikwu, says the victory of Bola Tinubu at the just concluded presidential polls is a clear case of consistency and preparation meeting opportunity. In a statement signed by the ADC's flag bearer, he says the president-elect took advantage of a disunited opposition, some of whom were running purely on the divisive platforms of ethnicity and religion, he says. The ADC presidential candidate, Dumebi Kachikwu, now joins us live virtually to speak more on the outcome of the February the 25th presidential election and the process. Many thanks for joining us at this time on TVC News. Mr. Kachikwu, you described from your statement that the emergence of Asiwaju Tinubu is a clear case of consistency and preparation meeting opportunity. It's an interesting position, but if we can talk some more about that, what more should Nigerians be expecting from the president-elect ahead of his first 100 days in office?
Okay, like I said, it was very clear when we went into this race that APC, the sitting government or the party in government, that they were the party to beat. And one would have expected that an opposition that would not overwhelm the APC in the last election needed to be more formidable going into these elections. But what we saw was that PDP was divided into PDP, Labour, the G5, and then you had the other parties. As far as we were concerned, the 14 other smaller parties were new generation parties with new blood trying to sell something different. NNPP, PDP, and Labour were the opposition similar to the APC. And there was absolutely no way they were going to beat APC divided. They made a big mistake, and they all knew that they couldn't beat the APC as long as they were divided. But because of the petty issues of who will lead the charge, they failed to unite themselves. As at the eve of the election, they all knew they didn't have the numbers. The Labour candidate believed that there was going to be a runoff, so he could then negotiate his way. PDP believed that at some point that maybe the northern structure will collapse and they will say people should vote for their candidate. Well, even though instructions were given down the line, the northern part of Nigeria are the true heroes of this democracy because they had this belief or this sense that it is the turn of the South and they refuse to heed to the instructions given to them, okay? And so when they decided to vote for the APC candidate, they voted for him because they felt the other party, which was the Labour Party, had this religious and ethnic undertone to their campaign, which is why they rejected them in the north. Okay, so Asiwaju's victory was foretold. I remember a few days to the elections, 48 hours to elections, I warned the parties. I said, unless you come together, Asiwaju will win. Right. Now, even though we accept that we had issues with the elections, but the issues cut across the four parties.
All right. And this allow me to interrupt, Mr. Kachikwu. The second leg of my earlier question was, now that you have, set this tone for your position on the matter, what should Nigerians expect from the president-elect in his first 100 days?
It's very simple. He has won the war. He has won the war. That's the easy part. Winning the peace is the harder part. He now has to win the peace. He now has to bring Nigerians together. We have never seen Nigeria so divided. He has to be able to bring Nigerians together. He has to be able to set an agenda. Now, it doesn't help when you're trying to set an agenda and what you see TV stations like yours doing is showing goodwill messages from social cultural groups and what have you, because that is still divisive. This is the time for thinking heads to start setting an agenda for a country in trouble. There's no time to waste. Nigeria is in peril. We need to set a clear-cut agenda that the new government will run on. So you have an agenda for the APC-led government, and you have an agenda for the opposition. Ultimately, both agendas drive Nigeria forward towards the path of peace and progress. And this is what we must start doing right now. I don't take away from anyone who seeks to, a legal remedy as to how he feels about this, the elections. I, as a candidate, am also seeking legal remedy, but my legal remedy is against the Labour Party and not the APC, right? But we must, or the Asiwaju at this point, must set a clear-cut agenda that Nigerians will buy into. This is not the time to be distracted by charlatans or people who are calling for boycotts or for riots or for protests and what have you. He must put his eyes on the prize, and the prize is the peace, stability, prosperity, and progress of Nigeria. This is what he must do.
All right. And we cannot really, talk more about the nitty-gritty of the process since it's already a matter before the election tribunal. But generally, what's your assessment of the process that even you participated in?
Like I said, when we went into this process, we knew that INEC as an institution could not guarantee us free and fair elections. We've always known that, and whatever we saw, we were bound to take it, right? And I will say this anytime. Whatever happened, we had irregularities, we had cases and occasions of rigging, but this cut across the four major parties. We saw what happened in the north, we saw southwest, we saw southeast. But what they did not materially affect the outcome of this election because the numbers were clearly in favor of the APC going into the elections. Anybody who says otherwise should come and say to you very clearly what was their pathway to victory. I, as a candidate, I felt that the honest thing for me to do with my supporters was to tell them, listen, I don't have any pathway to victory. I've looked at the numbers and I don't have the pathway to victory. It's now up to you to say you will go follow me on a suicide mission and vote for me, irrespective of the fact that I don't have a pathway to victory. I did what was principled and honest by letting my supporters know publicly that I didn't have a pathway to victory. Now, for the other parties, they knew this. Internally, they discussed this. They also spoke to me individually or collectively, and they were clear. They knew that it was a difficult election for anyone to surmount or overwhelm the APC unless they came together, but they failed to come together primarily because the Labour candidates did not have a control of the people who were supporting him. So there was absolutely no way he could tell them, listen, I want to enter into an alliance with PDP in order to win this. Because those people will kill him. That is what happened to Labour and PDP.
All right.
So what was Labour trying to do? Labour started the rigging by actually going public to announce an alliance, a merger with the ADC that was never there. So he disenfranchised me. He cheated the candidates of my party by announcing a non-existent alliance or merger.
So this is what you say you are pursuing in court. Is this the matter you were referring to earlier?
Yes, this is the matter I was referring to in court because what happened now? So a lot of the numbers that he's claiming are numbers that actually belong to my party. They took all our agent tags, and we went in there blind, having no agents, nothing. So the candidates within my party are absolutely bitter at what Labour did to us. That's where the rigging started. Well, like I said, whatever rigging was done by these parties.
All right. Mr. Kachikwu,
immaterial to the outcome of the election.
Right. Let's quickly, look at the role some religious leaders played during the campaign. Some of the comments that emanated from them have been said to be inciting. What's your position on that?
Well, I have called out the church on this. I am extremely disappointed because the church is dividing, or the clergy is dividing society. I hope they are able to deal with the fallout of what they are trying to do. I listened to a pastor today saying, I don't recognize, Asiwaju is not the president-elect. Statements like this ultimately lead to breakdown of law and order, lead to anarchy. So leading up to the elections, they were doing this. They were using their pulpits as political platforms to sell the candidate of their choice. I said today I do something called Sunday Nuggets every Sunday, and I said to people, our Lord Jesus Christ walked the face of the earth. And whilst he walked the face of the earth, there was a government in place. And the president of that government was Caesar Augustus. And Jesus Christ was a model citizen, a humble citizen. And his message to his followers was how to preach love, unity, help the poor, help the weak. He had a dictator as president then. You never heard him speaking to government except saying, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give to God what belongs to God.
Right.
But we see our modern day pastors, they want to be politicians. They say they want to clean up the political space. And my challenge to them is that if you want to clean up the political space, you must start from the pulpit, because 80% of those who are in public office, they are either in churches or mosques.
All right. Mr.
So
Kachikwu,
you must clean up that space if you want to clean up society.
Right. Mr. Kachikwu, but on a final note, the president-elect has extended a reconciliatory hand to losers. How significant is this move, and where does that leave the ADC?
Well, I will say this. It's one thing to extend a hand of fellowship. It's another thing to do it constructively and in a structured manner that becomes clear to everyone that you mean this, right? Asiwaju is a seasoned politician, and I expect that what we'll see soon, we'll see a committee of eminent Nigerians who will try and mend fences and stretch a hand across the political divide. But more importantly, while this is being done, he must start setting an agenda, because Nigeria is in trouble. Our economy is in trouble. We have security issues. Our middle class is leaving the country in droves. We have unemployment issues. So he must start setting a clear-cut agenda. The opposition must also have their agenda that they can use to look at what the government is doing and challenge it if it needs to be challenged, right, or offer constructive criticism on how to move the nation forward. This is what must be done at this time.
Dumebi Kachikwu of the African Democratic Congress, we thank you very much for speaking with us on TVC News.
Thanks for having me.